Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Time for, a little movie analysis. It's the Super Mario Brothers movie. Here's the gist of this movie. If you are a fan of Super Mario Brothers, then you will probably enjoy this movie and get a kick out of it. If you are not a fan of Super Mario Brothers or really have no idea what it even is, if you've never played a Mario game, it's probably going to feel like a really bad movie to you. You will not have a good time. It's going to feel like chaos and like nothing makes sense, and you'll probably come away thinking it's a terrible movie. And that is because the entire movie is constructed as a vehicle for reference. This is a reference movie. This is a movie made for fans, not a movie made for general audiences that have no exposure to Super Mario. Now, it's apparently already making a lot of money, and the reason is Super Mario Brothers as a franchise is a gigantic franchise that almost everybody has had some contact with, especially if you're under the age of 50. My 7-year-old son has played a lot of Mario games with me, and he thought it was an amazing movie. He had the best time, especially because of the fact that it's a reference movie. He could say, oh, that song is from this game. Oh, that is from this game. Oh, this is from this game. He could tell you where all of them are from. Not just if you're a fan of Super Mario Brothers, but Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Country as well. So there's lots of references to those, and the characters from Donkey Kong Country do play a important part, I guess, in the plot, what there is of the plot. The plot really exists to serve you these references. It's not devoid of good writing. It's not devoid of basic writing techniques. In fact, it has a really good conflict that sets up everything. It has a good setup for drawing the characters together and getting them to go on the quest towards the ultimate plot goals. But, I probably would have written some things a little bit differently. The main point is that it's about the references. And so if you go to the movie knowing that it's about the references and you're going to have a good time recognizing those references and those little winks at the fans, there's like a little wink at the fans every other second, it feels like, then you're going to have a really good time with this movie. And if that is something which you don't like, if you don't like movies that are for fans and about fan service, you're probably going to hate this movie. And that's really because the plot is bananas. So I mentioned the setup is good. So we'll talk about the main conflict. Main conflict is a really solid conflict. It's a very old conflict. It's a great adaptation of Super Mario Brothers. You're going to find it right in this old set of comics from the 1990s. This was from the Nintendo Power books from the 90s, which they'd have a monthly set of comic strips, manga, for Super Mario Brothers. Bowser wants to marry Peach. This was the setup for Super Mario Galaxy, and if we go far enough back to the 90s, we realize it's kind of the setup for every game. For whatever reason, Mario wants to marry Princess Toadstool or Princess Peach. So that's the setup. He's in love with her for, whatever reason. He's fallen in love with her, and he has a plot to try to kidnap her and force her to marry him. And so all of his power acquisition, his conquest of the other lands is directed somewhat towards getting her to marry him. So great adaptation, good little conflict. How does Mario come into it? Well, we have, again, another traditional adaptation of Mario, which is Portal Fantasy. So Mario and Luigi are from Brooklyn. So they are from our world of things. And they're plumbers, of course, because of their outfits, I guess, and the fact that there's pipes in the game. And they get sucked off into another world, into the Mushroom Kingdom. This is basically a series of little lands that are in this other world. The Mushroom Kingdom, there's Donkey Kong Land, there's Bowser's Land, all this stuff. So they get sucked off and they get separated. Luigi gets captured, so that's an extra element of the conflict. So that's the main conflict for Mario is his goal is to save Luigi. Princess Peach's main conflict is to save the Mushroom Kingdom, or I should say her goal is to save the Mushroom Kingdom, and the main plot goal for Bowser is to get Peach to marry him. So all of these are a little bit in conflict with each other. So having entered into the Mushroom Kingdom, Mario finds out that there's a human being at this castle, and he goes to try to talk to her about how he can maybe try to get his brother back. Here's where the writing, I think, is weak in terms of writing. Most people are not going to complain about this because, like I said, the movie's not about the plot. Rather, the plot is about the references. So it allows Mario to go to her, and she decides to take him with her to go talk to the Donkey Kong fellows about, the Jungle Kingdom, the Kong Kingdom, to help her defeat Bowser. There's no real reason for her to take him with her other than she recognizes that he's a human and she's a human, and there's a hint that she got pulled in from the human world, and so she's really not a part of the Mushroom Kingdom, which is full of little toads. But there's not a strong reason for her to take Mario with him. I probably would have written it a little bit differently, so maybe there was like some sort of prophecy so that he could be a little bit of a reluctant hero and get dragged along. But it allows her to explain how the world works. There's power-ups. So all of the check-off guns, if you will, the rules of the game, the world-building part of it, gets to happen really quickly because you're in a Portal Fantasy. That's one of the advantages of Portal Fantasy, or isekai if you're going with the Japanese thoughts about it. But that style of fantasy presentation goes way back, including Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court by, of all people, Mark Twain. The idea here is if you have a fish out of water, you have somebody that is foreign to the fantasy land, same thing with like Princess of Mars, then you can stop and explain how things work to them. And that allows you to do some really direct exposition for how the world is, to do some explanation of the world building, rather than having the characters already exist in a world that's familiar to them, but unfamiliar to the reader, where you have to do things a little bit more indirectly or do it through dialogue. In this case, Princess Peach can just explain to Mario, this is how the world is. Here, this is a power-up box, and it will give you things. You have to eat them. Mario hates mushrooms, which is funny. A little humor there. There's lots of little humor bits in it. And so the power-ups are going to serve a purpose throughout the entirety of the plot to provide solutions for insurmountable problems for Mario. And so we get a chance to explain those. They go to the Kong Kingdom to enlist their help. Mario has to fight Donkey Kong. And of course, it's a power-up that provides the solution to beating Donkey Kong. And the power-ups themselves are all references. There's a big mushroom. There's the little mushroom that makes you tiny, which has been in some of the games. And then the cat suit from Super Mario 3D World that finally, allows him to beat Donkey Kong. All of this goes on, and of course we come to a head where Bowser is able to finally capture Peach and force her to marry him. One of the things that I think works really good in this movie is that while all of the characters are trying to solve a problem, none of the characters are incompetent and none of the characters are unheroic. So one of the key things that you'll find, like if you go back and read like these old manga stories, is that Princess Peach is not an incompetent maiden in distress. While she's often put into positions where Bowser captures her or is forcing her to marry her, she's never not heroic. She's never like completely helpless. And that's the case in this story, going way back to the 90s, and it's the case in the movies. Of course, what gets her to agree to it is threatening other people. That's the way Bowser's able to do it. It's a really good story solution to that, so that Princess Peach is never helpless. Rather, she has to choose to submit for the good of others, which is a noble submission, shows the quality of her character. And even then, she attempts to fight, and then, you have a hero of Mario. Mario is finally able to kind of level up his heroism skill enough to where he can provide the assistance and save her. It's generally speaking a good setup where everybody gets to be a hero. Mario starts as a nobody, and this is something they start with in the beginning of the movie. Mario and Luigi are basically talked down to by everyone in their life. This is a really classic way to present a hero's journey kind of story. Is you start the hero at like ground zero. You make him like Peter Parker. Like everybody's making fun of Peter Parker in the first Spider-Man one. They all think he's a weak nerd. And so then you provide him the opportunity to grow past that bad low status point. And that's exactly what the entirety of the movie allows you to do. So everything that's set up in the movie, these are really classic story writing techniques. Like I said, where I think it really goes off the rails is with the plot. The plot just goes all over the place. And by plot, I mean the event sequence. Like the setups are very good. The event sequence is just pure chaos. It goes all over the place. They're going here. Oh, we got to get from the Kong Kingdom back to the Mushroom Kingdom. Well, we got to ride karts. We got to have Super Mario Kart time and a giant Mad Max vehicle fight in order to, have Mario Kart references along Rainbow Road. Like it's all a vehicle for references. And so if you don't get those references, the event sequence after those initial conflict setups are going to seem like just completely bonkers. Otherwise, though, I think the fact that they were able to provide that many references, even though the event sequence is kind of bonkers, shows a lot of quality writing on the part of the people who made the movie. I've forgotten the lead writer's name, but there was also like a story team. So that, I think, shows a lot more competence than I was actually expecting from a Hollywood movie. Most of the time you get really boring, bland, excuse me, Blake Snyder saved the cat kind of stuff that really is just super predictable. And this was fairly predictable. It's all standard stuff, but I think it's things that are generally done well enough that your average viewer is going to have a really good time watching it. They're going to be convinced by most of the character setups, by the character growth, and by the main conflicts that exist in the movie, that they'll like the references enough they won't care that the event sequence is so all over the place. So anyway, that's the Super Mario Brothers Super movie. And maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. Chances are, if you're a fan of the Mario franchise, you'll enjoy the fact that it's a reference movie. I appreciate that they actually did this. They made something for fans rather than producers making whatever movie they wanted to make and then slapping Super Mario Brothers on it, like the 90s movie, which was quite bad in my opinion. I know that there's people trying to rehabilitate the Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s with Gene Hackman, but like, it's really bad. And even the people who were in it were like, we had no idea what we were doing. We were rewriting on the fly. It was just a really badly done production that had nothing to do with the source material. This feels like a really good adaptation because it just exists to reference the original material, and that's part of the fun of the movie. That being said, I still think they're only really scratching the surface of what they could do in terms of references with the movie. They certainly could do a sequel and have tons of other things that they could reference just as much. With this, it's kind of like Ready Player One, but Super Mario. So if that interests you, then you'll probably like it. Even the music was referential. So the music score was pretty good, but you hear all the Koji Kondo music. You hear all the little themes from all the different movies going in, and they work in the movie, not only as references, but they work just as music for the background and for the events that are happening in the movie, which is great. I thought the animation was really good. I thought the character designs were really true to form. The only exception maybe was Princess Peach, who looked a little weird. I thought the voice acting was actually really good. I'm not a big fan of Seth Rogen, but he works as Donkey Kong. And they even have Mario and Luigi with the crazy Italian accents doing a commercial. So they're able to reference the wacky voices that they have in the games, which makes sense in the context of a game because they're going, woohoo, you know, it's just stuff that's part of the background noise. But in a movie, you really have to deliver lines in an appropriately acted way. So I think everything about the movie was really done well. If you're a fan of the movie, if you're a fan of the games, and if you're somehow like 70 years old and you've never seen Super Mario Brothers before, this is just going to seem like a bonkers movie that you probably won't like. But I think the vast majority of people under 50 will enjoy the fact that it's a reference movie. And like I said, there's enough competent writing that it holds the whole thing together and delivers what I think is a satisfying conclusion where all the characters get to be heroic and grow to where they need to be, and everyone gets to have the happy ending at the end. I thought Jack Black was great as Bowser as well. So anyway, if you saw it, let me know what you thought down below in the comment section. I was really, my biggest surprise was actually how much I liked the voice actors, how good a job I think most of the voice actors actually did. When I originally heard the casting for it, I was very skeptical as to whether it would come out to be a good movie, but I think they actually did a really good job. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you all next time. You can get my newest book for free at dvspress.com/free-book. That is Demon Ex Machina, about demon in the AI art. So you can read that one for free, and if you did read it, please feel free to leave an Amazon review. That definitely helps me out. Newest music is out. It is the album Return, David V. Stewart's Zool. So you can type in David V. Stewart's Zool on Spotify or Amazon Music or wherever, and you can listen to that album. So have a great one, and I will see you all next time. God bless you all. Woohoo!